Alright, this is a Metal Gear Solid 2 European Extreme Difficulty Big Boss rank playthrough I did with some live commentary over it. I'm not really sure what purpose this commentary has, since it's not really going to be a guide, though you could kind of use it as a guide if you wanted to see how I routed through things. Um, but I'm not really going to be able to go into a crazy amount of depth about some of the things I do, so it's not really great as a guide in some ways, but it's also not going to be very entertaining as a, well, isn't this guy godlike at Metal Gear? Because if you wanted to watch someone play Metal Gear well, there's quite a few people much better than me, a lot of people actually. But I've been watching some Bick Benedict videos again recently, and I like his thing where he'll play games and do his live commentary over the top of them, and he'll do guides and he'll do live commentary over the top of them. And I've been enjoying those again, so I figured I'd do my own just to entertain myself, and maybe someone else will find it entertaining as well. I'm really kind of not too happy with how I play in this run, because I was doing a European Extreme Game Over if Detected run before, and that was going to be what I did commentary on. But like 2/3 of the way through, I realized that my OBS wasn't capturing it properly, and I had to restart entirely. So for this whole run, I'm basically like just seething, and I'm really upset about having to restart this whole fucking game. And I don't play well. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever like tried like playing a game when you're really mad at that game and frustrated at that game in the moment, but it just makes you play worse. And so there's a lot of spots in this where I really fuck up things that I had done very well when I had played this through the first time, and it annoys me, but in a way it's kind of inspiring, because if you're going for the big boss ranking yourself and you see this playthrough, you might see you really only have to play marginally better than me or as good as me to get the ranking. So if anything, it's inspiring to know you yourself can get the big boss ranking, and all you gotta do is play as good as I did, which won't be that hard to do. Here in this room, you'll notice I'm playing with radar off. Radar off is necessary for the big boss ranking, although I really don't feel like the game plays very well with radar off. The environments are a lot more enclosed than in Metal Gear Solid 1, and the camera's a lot closer as well, so it can make it really hard to see off-screen guards, and you'll get caught off-screen by a lot of shit with radar off. So I really don't feel like the game is served well and plays better with radar off, but it's part of the big boss challenge, just because at this point you should be so good at the game and know where everything is that's part of the point. It's a way to exhibit your mastery over the game you've been playing and show that you know how to route it properly. Olga is going to be the first boss we fight here, and there's what's called a left side Olga and a right side Olga. This one's a left side Olga, which is very easy to fight. She always starts at the top left, and she'll either run to the left or down, and that's how you can tell she's left or right side. Left side Olga will always run to the left and then take cover behind this rack over here, and all you got to do to kill her is dodge her first shots and then line your crosshair up, and every time she recovers from the shot, just shoot her in the head again. Don't even need to move the crosshair. Really simple. I think I show a right side Olga in here as well, if that gets edited in. Yeah, so this is a right side Olga. She comes down to the right side here, and she's going to alternate between taking cover behind the box and the rack. So you have to dodge her first volley by leaning, shoot her in the head there, aim your shot a little to the right, get another headshot there, and then she'll run behind the rack and a cutscene will play. You want to let this cutscene play out, don't skip it, because she will always run forward if you watch the cutscene all the way through. This is the hardest shot to make here, and if you don't land this shot headshot, you're going to have to do 5 shots and salvage it, but I do get the headshot in the example. And then she either takes cover behind the rack or behind the box again. And I see she's running behind the rack, so I just line my shot up, take it. And when you take that last shot, I always like to lean behind the boxes, because if she shoots at the same time you shoot, you will die, because you die in one shot in this fight, and that will be a game over, and you're going to have to restart your run. So, that's Olga. Pretty simple fight. It will take you a bit of practice if you try to use the left side, right side Olga tactics like I did to get the fight down. But it's a relatively simple fight once you practice it a few times. You really shouldn't mess it up that often once you're practiced with it. To get the big boss ranking in this, you also are only allowed to save 8 times. I'll bring this up here because there's a camera I'm going to shoot here. You're also only allowed to shoot, I think, 700 shots, and you can only kill a certain amount of cameras and ciphers. And if you go over those limits, you don't get big boss. However, there's so few cameras and ciphers that when you're playing through quickly and efficiently that you actually need to shoot, that it's really not a big deal. So I shoot that camera there just because it's caught me more times than I would like to admit. So I get rid of it just to make sure I never get hit by it again. You also can't get any alerts to get a big boss ranking. So rolling into guards and then getting out of their line of sight won't actually cause an alert, it'll only cause a caution. But if you are able to get to the next area before backup is called, then the caution phase doesn't trigger. And then right here I shoot that glass so that the guard on the right sees the shot and comes out to try to find me. But since it's European Extreme, he has a long enough sight line to see his knockdown ally, and he gets distracted by that and walks over there. And then you can very easily come into the engine room. Engine room is going to be a room that you navigate. You'll see speedrunners navigate very, very, very quickly. And I do the first part the way you'd see it in speedruns, where I jump off the side and I come down and I take care of this guard. If you shoot a guard with the tranquilizer and then roll into him, he goes to sleep instantly, no matter where you shot him with the tranquilizer, I think. But it's almost always a torso shot. And then instead of going up these stairs where I can be seen by one of these two guys if I'm not very fast, I just stay on the lower floor and I take it safe, and I shoot the top guy up top, wait for the guy on the second floor to turn around, and then I'm going to knock him out before I head to the room up there. Speedruns will do this room a lot faster, and they will weave a very tight line through these guys and take them out in a very, very fast manner. That requires the kind of precision that I'm not really down to practice that hard, since you need to get under 3 hours to get a big boss ranking, and I think this run is an hour and 44 minutes, which means I've got about an hour and 20 minutes of extra time. So you have an hour and 20 minutes of extra time where you can run slower strats if you really want to, and it's not going to be a big deal. And if you follow the routing in this video, or in most general speedruns, you'll have plenty of time by the end of the game. And by the routing, I don't mean necessarily applying all the all of the tactics that you would see in a speedrun, but rather the order in which you head to every room throughout the set pieces of the game is what I mean by routing. But then, yeah, there was one more thing I was going to bring up about the big boss ranking, but I can't remember, what it was. Oh, the saves. So when doing another big boss run, you only get 8 saves. And you better believe that I use all of those saves, because I can't, well, with enough practice and time, I could probably single segment this game. I can get all the way up to the Harrier fight single segment. But around that time, I kind of have to start using my saves. So the game gives you 8 saves, and I use all of them. And I'll point out when I do my saves, but we don't actually do the first save here until we get out of the tanker and then get all the way up to the bomb defusal part of the plant. Because in that section of the plant, it's literally just avoiding guards and routing through the area. So it's really, you're really not going to get caught. It's pretty simple to route through the first part of the plant chapter, so I try to get my first save in as late as I can to give me more areas to use my other 7 saves later on. Excuse me. I'm like really hungover as hell today, so I've got this like vocal fry that probably doesn't sound too good in the mic, and then I keep having to clear my throat, so hopefully that doesn't get too obnoxious and I don't sound like DSP over here snorting and coughing, but we'll see how it goes. Like I said, I'm not too happy with this run, so maybe at some point I'll do a DSP-style redemption run where I do single segment it and prove that I truly am a master of Metal Gear Solid 2. This is one of the fights that I'm really not too happy about, that I don't play very well in this run, that I'm usually able to play quite well. You don't want to stand all the way up onto this box when you aim, because if you aim when you're too close to a box, Snake will hold his gun up, and it creates this huge amount of delay when you pop up to shoot people. So you want to sit far enough back that you can aim your gun normally, but not so far back that guards can shoot over the top of the box and hit you. I'm really not happy with this fight right here because I miss a lot of shots on that guy in the middle, and then I stand up and I just get shot for no reason. There's 8 guys you need to kill or knock out here, and then 3 more come out after you kill 8. And the easy way to deal with this fight is if you can take out the guy on the left and the middle, you just need to keep your eye on the guy on the right, and then hold your crosshair in the middle like I am here, and then when someone crosses, you can always knock them out right when they cross. Knocking those crossing guys out is actually a really easy shot, but you need to have 2 other people, or 1 other person at least, knocked out in order to line it up. So I got 8 guys there, and now here the 3 are going to come out. But it's really not that hard of a shot to land, especially when you know where they're going to be coming out and you practice the fight. So ideally the way this fight goes is you take a guy out on the left in the middle, and you just kind of avoid the shots of the guy on the right while picking off every single guy that comes running out with really, really easy headshots. And once 8 of them go down, then you back off and fight the 3 guys. However, I'm not that great, and I kind of botch it, so I get shot twice, which isn't that big of a deal. At the end of the game, if you take too much damage, even if you never heal, you can't get the big boss ranking. But I take damage almost everywhere you could take damage in this run, and I still get the ranking. I think I'm barely under the threshold for damage you can take, so as long as you just take marginally less damage or the same amount of damage as me, big boss is still pretty feasible. This is a part of the run which, if you do it my way, is probably going to require a bit of practice. You have an hour and 20 minutes of extra time if you use this routing. So you can do this room slower if you want to, but I actually do the faster way to run through the marine area. You dive over those grates because they make sound when you walk over them, and the marines will turn around and then hear it. And then this is the room that is probably going to require some practice. You want to swap sides with the camera and then hold up the marines as you run through. Swap off your weapon, hold them up, swap off and on again. Hold those two guys up, and then this third guy, if you're not fast enough, he will turn around and you'll have to knock him out. Even when he doesn't turn around, I knock him out anyway, just because it's in my muscle memory, because I don't want to get in the habit of running away from him when he turns around and then get caught. And then in this room, you just have to take 4 pictures of Ray, all which can be done from 3 locations. The left picture, the middle picture, and then when you take the right picture, you can also take the Marine logo picture. I'm going to stand Snake over here on this small square and take the right picture of Ray up at the head. And if you line your camera up with this circular piece on Ray right there and take that picture, that's going to be the Marine logo picture that you need. So there's all 4 pictures, and that's going to be the end of the tanker chapter. It's pretty simple. It's not that bad once you get used to it. The hardest parts of the tanker chapter are just going to be practicing the Olga fight and then practicing the guard fight, and everything after that is just learning how to route the guards, which really isn't that hard. Again, it requires some practice and it requires some knowledge of the area and the layout, so it's not like easy, but it's really not that bad. You don't want to save here. You want to wait and use your first save till you get to the later part of the plant chapter. And we're going to be starting the plant chapter here, and we'll be applying a tactic that only works in European Extreme. On European Extreme, the guards have a slightly longer sight range than even on Extreme. So we're able to knock a guard in the back of the room out and then have them see us, but we retreat and hide before it goes into an alert or a caution phase. And then while they are picking up the guy that we knocked out, who they saw us knocking out, we're going to get out of the room before it ever even becomes an issue. And that's a tactic that doesn't work on any difficulty other than European Extreme. You have to do some other slightly different tactics on other easier difficulties. Another way you can deal with this room on all difficulties is when you enter it, there's going to be some guards who are knocked out. And you'll notice there's 3 lockers in that starting room. These guards in this room won't actually get woken up until you activate the console to start the hiding sequence. So if you wanted to, you could drag all of these guards into that last back room over there and put them in lockers, and then this section is just not a problem at all. So if you were having trouble with this section in some way, if you don't mind taking the extra time to drag all 3 guards back to that first room, you can always just do that, and the room becomes just a non-factor. Downloading. This is the only console we use in the game because it forces us to. The consoles generally give you a radar, but we're playing with radar off, so they're not worth ever actually going for. They're unnecessary. The guard we're going to be knocking out is going to be in the bottom right corner of this room. You don't see him when you walk in, and if you're not playing with radar, you won't see him either, unless you go first person and run all the way down to this corner for some reason, see him. So we're going to knock this guard out, but the way you can quickly knock guards out is that if you punch guards in the groin in Metal Gear Solid 2, they go into a stun state. So I grab him, put him in a headlock, and I let him go, punch him in the groin, and then I'm looking to see and wait for this guard to spot me. So he thinks he spotted me. Who's there? He's going to come over. You hide behind these boxes here. And then when that guard notices the knockdown guy or passes by boxes, you're going to knock on that wall to make the guard on the left try to walk around and find you. And that's going to give you enough time to just sit here and wait for the elevator, and this room is completely just dealt with. Not a huge issue. We're going to have to route through 2 more rooms before we get to the first part where we save, but both of these rooms are incredibly easy to route through. Actually, only one of the rooms actually has a guard in it. The other one is a cutscene. I think basically, yeah, we're going to be routing over a bridge and a room that are going to have guards on them, but then there's just 2 more rooms that are cutscenes, and we'll get our first save in pretty quick right here. The sneaking in this game is, like I said earlier, because you play with the radar off, you can't really, when you're playing on an extreme run like this, you don't really know where the guards are, so because no radar, so you have to kind of just know exactly where everything is and have routed this stuff and have this down to a muscle memory pretty much, because trying to play these areas by just going into first person constantly to check things is going to be hard, because guards can see you from almost across the room, and there's going to be a lot of walls where you really can't see guards, and they'll come around and just have lines of sight of you. So playing this game without radar is incredibly frustrating. unless you know exactly where everything is. We flip over these grates here because they make noises, and that guard will turn around if he hears them. Then you flip into him. You get into this room before it becomes a problem. So these stealth sections are probably the most lax part of the game. The hardest part of this game on the playthrough is going to be the bosses and the set pieces that you have to do. And that's kind of what Metal Gear is when you think about it. It's a series of set pieces that are linked together with stealth as the vehicle to get you between set pieces. And it works thematically. When you compare Metal Gear to a stealth game like Thief or something, the stealth might feel a bit underwhelming, but it's executed well. And as a vehicle to get you from set piece to set piece, I think thematically it works quite well. You don't want to save right there. You want to wait till you get to the next area. Just keep your saves as close as possible. That way, if you do mess up, you don't have to run as far to recover. Basically, because if you mess up and have to reload your save, and then you have to run through 2 useless rooms and watch some cutscenes, it's gonna get frustrating after a while. So we make sure to grab our chaff grenades here. We can also grab them on the way back, but I just grab them now because it doesn't really matter when you grab them. But it is important to grab them. Chaff grenades and stun grenades are going to be 2 very important pickups that you're going to want to pick up almost all the ones you can see through the game. Stun grenades especially are going to be important. In the PS2 version of this game, you only really need 4 stun grenades, but in the HD version, for safety, I keep 6, because grenades take an extremely long time to go off, and that can become a pretty big problem later on when you need to use your stun grenades during a fight. Get these cutscenes here. That cutscene right there is one you can only skip on New Game Plus, so I'll bring that up now. This is a New Game Plus run. The bomb locations change slightly on a New Game Plus or a New Game Plus Plus run, and you can tell if you're on a New Game Plus or a New Game Plus Plus run because Raiden will be wearing sunglasses on a New Game Plus Plus run. This is going to be the room we're going to be saving in, and if you ever end up failing any of these sequences up to this point, this will be the the save you reload back to. I do actually have to reload this save a couple of times because I do mess up in the sneaking, but oh yeah, I'll point that out now. This is not a single segment run. I think I said that earlier, but this is going to be a segmented run where I edit together all of these successful segments between my saves. So the edit is right there when the screen goes black, says BC Connecting Bridge. This is actually like my 3rd attempt at this because the first attempt I actually lost right there. I took 3 shots at the Cypher and it just didn't die. Every shot missed for some reason. And then it spotted me and I had to restart. And I don't remember where my next loss was. I think it was in the parcel room. Oh, no, I actually had 2 more losses. One in the parcel room and one in the supply room. I just miss really basic shots and get even more upset. And I start seething even more and playing even worse. This room's pretty simple. Run in here and then get this bomb. You do have to be fast because if you take too long to defuse that bomb and start moving down, the guard on the right side of this room will see you. But it's not like there's anything too advanced in that kind of routing right there. Just run and defuse the bomb, get out. AB Connecting Bridge on the way back. You do not want to go out of the door yet. I go in first person and make sure this guard on the right side is turned around. He will see you if you walk out that doorway. And then we're going to deal with him the same way we dealt with the first one on the other side. Flip across the noisy parts of the floor, knock him down, and then just get yourself into the next core to start the next bomb defuse part. The first bomb in this area is going to be on the roof, and the second one is going to be down in the pump room. There's a guard in the roof that most speedrunners will take care of by, I believe they run behind, hold him up, and then punch him in the groin to knock him out, and that's like marginally faster than leaving him up. I leave him up though just because I don't want to give myself any extra execution that increases the margin of error. So I just leave him up, and then I think I throw him behind me when I run into this next room. You want to leave this room coming down the right side so you can pick up the chaff grenades on the way out, and then the guard won't have time to call back up, so you just come down here, get your SOCOM out, because we are going to be holding a guard up and punching him in the groin in this next room. Hold him up right here, punch him in the groin, and then he'll wake up right around the time you get out from under these pipes. By unequipping and re-equipping the weapon right here, you crawl marginally faster. You don't need to do it, but I do it just because there's no reason not to. You do crawl a bit faster. And then defusing this bomb through the wall right here is a bit tricky. You want, when Raiden crouches, for his knees to line up with the white line on the ground that you can see. You can pause the video and go back if you need to see the lineup I use. If you're too close, the spray won't hit, and if you're too far, the spray won't hit. You just want to line Raiden up between those 2 pipes. Have his knees, when he's in his crouched state, line up with the white line on the ground, the tips of his knees. And then you can spray right through that white piece that you saw in first person and get the bomb on the other side of the wall. And if you do all that right, you'll get out of that room before the guard wakes up. Here is one of the spots we're playing on game over if detected is kind of annoying, because playing game over if detected doesn't necessarily even mean a guard sees you. You can get a game over even if a guard hears a gunshot. So if you shoot at that cipher and miss, and then you take a second shot, either the guard or the cipher hears it. I don't know who or which, but you get a game over. So if you just miss that first shot, which can happen sometimes because the SOCOM site isn't the easiest to see over, and the bullets have like noticeable travel time, playing the game over undetected can be annoying. Right here, you're going to spray that guard with coolant, cross out front. This part is a room that requires quite a bit of practice on my part. I failed it a few times. You want to hold this guy up, shoot the guy across the way. So right here, that's where I messed up a lot of time. If you stand too close to those boxes, that guy notices you, and if you miss the headshot, you basically have to leave the room and get the hell out and come back in to restart it, because if you don't, he will round those boxes quickly and then just spot you. And then that's a game over for your big boss run. I generally will actually try to run to the left once I knock out the first guard and get an angle on the guy across the room, but it's not like an exact science. You just gotta kind of land the shot. Spray that bomb between the boxes right there. It's a lot faster than having to jump in between the boxes. And then make sure you pick up the flash grenades in this little cubby right over here before you leave. That's going to be very, very important. We're going to pick up 3 sets of flash grenades in this, and we need all 3 of them. This is the room I'm talking about where I get caught, but it doesn't count towards my alert because I get out of the area in time before the guy calls back up. Like I said, I was very angry when I was doing this, and I really wasn't paying attention. I was kind of just phoning it in and really not thinking much. So in this room, I take way too long to get through it. I should have started the Kodak right when I threw the chaff grenade, so I could have started running forward earlier, but instead, I wait for the chaff grenade to blow up before I even enter the bridge area. You roll to pick up that claymore so that it's gone when you need to run through this area later. But if you move too slowly through this area like I did, you just get spotted by that guy, which, game over if detected is a game over. But here, not a big deal. This room is pretty annoying. Just like earlier, do not step in the doorway. If you step in the doorway, he will instantly spot you. You need to shoot him from against the wall. Take out these 2 guards in the back by staying on your tippy toes, and then shoot these 2 cameras closest to you. 1, yeah, I missed the first shot because I'm stupid. 1, 2, a 4th guard is going to walk in down the stairs. If you take too long to shoot those cameras, he hears the gunshot and sees you. But if you're fast enough, he won't hear it. Knock him out, collect the box on top of this conveyor, that's pretty important. And then the bomb you need to defuse is going to be coming out of this conveyor right here on top of some of the boxes. Goodness, I gotta take a sippy of water. And then make sure you shoot that 3rd camera on the way out. And that's this room dealt with. You won't have to deal with any cameras you shoot at for the rest of the game. And this room, now that you have the box, becomes much easier because later on you can use the box to stay at crouching height but move. And that'll allow you to run past the conveyors very quickly without the guards being able to see you over them. Coming up onto this rooftop right here, I think in a lot of speedruns you see, people will route between the guards, but for just safety, I don't bother with that. I take out the 2 guards, so they're just not a problem. This first guard's on the left, and then he's going to run between the boxes, so you wait till he runs between, knock him out. And then the last guard is going to come down from your right. Make sure you pick up those stun grenades, it's very important. This next guard's going to come out from the right, but he won't turn to his right. He'll turn to his left, and then you can just walk up and hold him up. I usually like to hold up the guards before I shoot them, just because it makes it a much easier shot to land. I don't trust myself to land shots right now. So the last thing I need is that guard to like take a quick left turn and just miss, and I miss entirely, and then get caught and runs over, and then I'm even more upset. And it's around this time in the run that I start getting hungry as well. So I'm seething and I'm hungry. And when I get to the Harrier, I start making like just really stupid mistakes past that, and I have to restart quite a few times there and reload my Harrier fight, and it upsets me a lot. But you don't see any of that. You'll just see all the completed parts of the run. Taking out this guy on the stairs. You knocked out everyone in this room before, but they will be awake again, so dive down these stairs, and this is where the box is going to come into place, like I said earlier. The box right here, as long as you stay close to the conveyors when you're using it, the guards won't be able to see over the top and notice you. If you run too close to that back wall, the guards will see you, so you really want to make sure you stand close to the conveyor. And then if I recall, this bridge right here, you want to move across quickly, because there's another guy with binoculars on top who will look down and see you, so you don't want to spend too much time in the middle of this bridge. And then in the next room here, you have to be very fast. The guard in the middle of the sediment pool will see you the second you walk in. So he's already noticed me. You got to take him down immediately, because if he takes like 3 steps forward, he goes and detects you, and that's just straight up an alert phase. This room is laid out a bit differently on New Game Plus or New Game Plus Plus. On New Game Plus Plus, you want to enter from the bottom door on that last bridge, but this is New Game Plus, so we enter from the top door. So we can take out all the guards on the top floor before we deal with these 2 bombs right here. One's going to be under this grate, and then one is going to be above me underneath the stairs. And the last bomb is going to be on the opposite end of the room. One of the guards is going to wake up by the time we get all the way back up there, but his back will remain turned, so it's not a big deal. You don't need to grab those M9 bullets. I do, but it's really unnecessary, and it just makes you move a bit slower. I don't know why. I like having just the extra ammo and stuff. I'm in a mental state right now where I can't trust myself to land my shots, and I guess I felt like I needed 15 extra M9 shots on top of like 15 extra I picked up somewhere else earlier. But yeah, so go through your codec conversation right here, and then you'll run up those back stairs that you came down. The guard will stand up, and you just hold him up and leave the room. Pretty simple. This room is another room that took me a bit of practice. I like playing the game on game over if detected while I'm just practicing routing these things, because once you complete the room, you can get detected by a guard on purpose, and it just restarts. Whereas if you play on not game over when detected, you have to wait for the guards to kill you, and that it gets annoying and tedious waiting for the guards to kill you over and over again when you want to restart. So game over when detected is nice for your practice runs, but I prefer to play without it when I do the future big boss run. So here in the dining hall, there was actually a bomb here when we first started this, but we don't defuse that bomb immediately because we want this bomb to be the very last one that we defuse. Since once you defuse the last bomb, that will start the true hidden last bomb. That'll start its countdown, and by defusing this bomb last, that puts us in a room that is that puts us in a shell that is right next to the or a core. What's it called? A shell 1 core. No, shell 1 core is the middle piece. What is it? Shell 1 wing. Sorry, I gotta blow my nose. I hope that doesn't get picked up on the mic. It's like inverse DSP. He's always snorting, and I'm sitting here like blowing my nose. That's disgusting. My apologies. So yeah, by defusing that bomb last, we're gonna shoot the Cypher again. That puts us in the shell right next to, or whatever let's see what it's called. Strut. That puts us in the strut right next to the, okay, 1 strut away from the strut where we have to defuse the bomb. This guard's a bit tricky. He's like an unreactable mix-up. The second you walk into this room and you hit that gate, you want to hold him up. He comes just from off-screen. If you've got radar on, it's not a big deal to see him, but with radar off, he's like a knowledge check. He's an unreactable mix-up. He catches you and it sucks. This bridge we've already seen before. You know how to deal with it. Make sure you're just careful not to run outside the doors because that guard will see you, and then flip over the grates, knock him out. Well, not knock him out, but knock him down, and you'll be able to get into the next area before he can make a problem out of it. Strut A, you're just going to avoid this guard entirely, running up to the roof. I don't remember if the guard is on the roof anymore, but I wouldn't push your luck and try to find out. Just get immediately on the elevator and get down to the bottom floor. And then once you defuse the bomb on the bottom floor, that's where we will do the first boss fight. It's really, really simple, though, so I don't save before it. Again, we only get 8 saves, and I made sure to very specifically space them at the points to give me checkpoints between the most troubled areas I have. And this fight is quite simple, although we'll talk about that when we get there. One thing I really like about Metal Gear is that I talked earlier about how all of this game is kind of just a bunch of set pieces strung together with sneaking sections, and it fits really well. But one thing I really love about Metal Gear is that none of these set pieces in this game are the same. They're all very unique from one another, and they all stand out from one another in a lot of various ways. And I'll extrapolate on that more a bit later as well. But this first set piece, I don't know. I get you could call every set piece a boss fight if you really want to, and by Metal Gear standards, they kind of are. Like even the 8 guards I took out in the tanker was kind of a set piece, but you don't actually get to kill Fortune, so that's why it's kind of a like boss fight with like an asterisk, because normally when you do a boss you defeat the boss, but you don't actually get to defeat Fortune. She will double tap her railgun here, so don't turn too early. or else you will run into the second shot. And we go in the box just because it gives us a slightly better turn radius. So once she's done a couple of shots, she'll start to shoot the lights down from the roof, and that's why I go hide in the corner, because I'm trying to avoid the lights falling on me. And then you go back to just going left and right between the railgun shots. I ran extra to the right there because I thought she hit the barrel, and when the barrel explodes, it has a very big hitbox, but it goes away very quickly. You can run back past the barrel a lot sooner than you think, but the initial explosion hitbox is very big, so if she does shoot the barrel, just keep in mind you're going to want to get away from it and stay away from it. Kind of an interesting thing about the Fortune fight is that on European Extreme, if she hits you with the railgun, you actually will barely survive with like a sliver of health, so you can take 2 shots in this fight. But on normal Extreme, you die in 1 shot, and I'm not sure why that is. It's just kind of an interesting little gaming secret revealed bit of gamer knowledge for you. But it's we're on European Extreme, of course, but not like it matters because we're real gamers, so we don't get hit anyway. You'll get a call from Campbell, and that's when the Fat Man, routing to the Fat Man fight begins. It would really suck to get this far in and then get caught by a guard, so make sure that you're extra careful while routing through these guards. But you're just going to be routing all the way up to Fat Man, the exact same way we did before. Make sure you hug the top of the wall right there like I did. I think claymores get placed in that area, so if you're not careful, you will get hit by a claymore. In this room, I actually have to reset it because I try to hug this wall, and the guard's already looking left, and I'm like, wait a minute, he shouldn't be looking left. And then the guard on the opposite side of the room almost spots me, so I gotta get the hell out. Really, in this room, it's pretty simple, but I just kind of botched it a little bit. You want to hug that wall to make sure you can see when that guard turns to the left, and then run behind him. I guess you could also buffer and do like a punch kick at the top of the door to just kind of give yourself timing, and then run straight down the stairs and run behind him without needing to hold up against the wall. But I hold up against the wall. And then here, I check to see if the Cypher respawned. It doesn't. So you can just run across the bridge here. Pretty simple. You're going to have to go through the parcel room and the supply room again, which are 2 of the more challenging rooms to sneak through. So do be careful here. We're going to do this room a bit differently, though. We're going to pull out our trank gun and just trank this guy immediately. And then we'll trank the guy at the end of the hall. Because we don't need to waste time getting the M9, that guy's back is turned, making him a much easier shot this time. And we're able to just run right along the top section of this room and get the hell out, not needing to deal with any of the guys on the bottom. If you really want the suppressor for the SOCOM, you will have to deal with those guys on the bottom, but it's really not necessary. Throw a chaff grenade here to avoid the ciphers, and then position yourself to get ready to run across the bridge real fast. There we go. And then the way you run across this bridge is you run up the middle where the claymore is you picked up, and then you immediately get yourself on the noisy floor on the right, and then you run to the end, go to the left, and walk right off the bridge. You'll route that area a little bit differently a bit later, but... And then remember what I said about the parcel room here. Oh, actually, never mind. You don't actually need to shoot the guy a second time. You just go straight into the box, and as long as you hug the conveyor, he doesn't see you. Wait here for this guard to come out of the room, and you can run right up to the top of the helipad. And once you get past that guard, you can breathe easy, because now you're going to be able to do your next save. Assuming that you are following this guide's structure of saves. This is where you will do your save. You'll defuse the bomb up here with Fat Man. The Fat Man fight will start, and then you'll save the game. I think I edit out when I save, because I've had to restart this area a couple of times, so I just load in the successful run from here. But, this is where I use my second save. After this cutscene, I go codec right here and save. Right when this fight starts, grab these stun grenades over here on the left. Those are the last set of stun grenades you need. It's important to get those, because if you end this fight and you didn't pick those up, they disappear. And I don't know where else any other stun grenades are. And I want to make sure I have 6. So you defuse that first bomb, run up here at kind of an angle so his shots don't hit you, and then you shoot his skate. Fat Man can be shot twice every time he's knocked down. Because there's a moment where he's vulnerable right before the stars appear above his head, where you can hit him with 1 shot. And then when the stars appear above his head, you can hit him with a 2nd shot. I missed my 2nd shot there. But when the stars appear above his head, he will recover and get some iframes. So if you can, you want to try to shoot him twice. And then for the rest of the fight, you basically just follow him around and try to shoot him 2 times. I missed a shot there, but I do get my 2nd shot. When he ends up routing or running around at the top of the helipad, I think I ended up landing my shots more, but Fat Man is really one of my lesser favorite fights in this game. I don't really think he's that interesting of a fight. You're just going to chase him around, shoot him, and then like try to headshot him a bit. And it can be frustrating if you kind of shoot him in a more enclosed area and he hits the wall and then like spins around, so you just impossible to land that first shot on him for the extra damage. But the speed in which this fight goes by is entirely determined by whether or not you're able to land the double shots every single time on him. Otherwise, you're going to spend a lot more time chasing him around, and he's going to start planting bombs, and it just gets kind of tedious, and it's not really a fight I care that much about. And you'll see right here, he slides up against the wall and turns sideways, and that makes it hard to land that first shot. I wouldn't say Fat Man is a bad fight. He can be frustrating at times, like there, when you're trying to avoid him, and he just skates right into you. I wouldn't say Fat Man is a bad fight. I just don't think it's just not one of my favorite fights, and it's not a fight I'm finding very interesting. But I do still think he's a good fight and a worthwhile addition to this game, because earlier I brought up that all the set pieces and bosses in Metal Gear are very unique from every other boss and set piece in the game, and every single one of them stands out in their own way. And if you don't really like one boss or one set piece in this game, it's not really a big deal, because there are so many more that play so differently from one another, and there are so many different experiences to be had, that not liking one or two of the bosses or the set piece at the end of the day really doesn't become a very big deal. Just in the overall, just in the big picture of things. So we'll end up talking to the Cyborg Ninja here, and then we will go and do another sneaking section to get an AK, infiltrate the middle core, and then from there, I believe the next boss is the Harrier. I believe it's an infiltration section. We have to get in, get out, grab a sniper rifle, and then it's going to be the Harrier fight. And the Harrier fight's it's a pretty interesting fight. The BDU I'm equipping right there has a second kind of effect to it that goes unspoken in the game, but it shortens the guard's sight lines. Guards cannot see you from as far away when you have the BDU on. So there's not a lot, but a few points in this game where I think it's very important to put the BDU on for certain sneaking sections. Because even when you lose the ability to disguise yourself with the BDU, I go the wrong way there for a second, but I straighten myself out. Even when you lose the ability to disguise yourself as guards with the BDU, the BDU still gives you the extra sightline cutting off, so it's nice to have. Throw another chaff grenade here because we're going to be running through all these ciphers across the bridge, and we don't want to have to deal with them or shoot them down. It'll make the guy on the top be upset boy, and he'll turn around, so just chaffing the ciphers and running across is much faster. And then you don't accidentally risk killing too many ciphers and losing your big boss ranking. I do a punch kick here to buffer myself, because if you run to the right, this guard is going to see you. And this door is fucked up. You need to be very careful running through this door. You need to run through that door to the right, and then when you get in, immediately run to the left and run forward. If you run through that door too far to the left, the guard on the ground floor sees you. If you run through the door and stay too far to the right, the guard in this room sees you through the hole in the, through the bookcase. So you need to run through that door on the right side, but then immediately go to the left and run up far enough forward that the door closes and the guard behind you won't see you, who would have seen you on the left side. It's a bit tricky to get down, and that room I lost in quite a few times. It just requires a bit of practice. Once we get the AK, though, we're going to shoot down the ciphers out here and then make our way into the Shell 1 core across this bridge. The tiles are going to collapse when we run across, and we just let them fall. As long as you keep running, you're not going to end up falling into the water, so it's not a big deal. Grab a little more AK ammo, and then we'll head into the core. Now, I do this very differently from how a lot of speedruns do it. I have a very hard time routing myself back out of the core if I leave all of the cameras alive. So when I come into Shell 1's core, I make sure I take all the cameras out. So I'm going to wait for these guards to turn themselves around. I'm going to knock them out, and then I'm going to try to take the cameras out. Ideally, you don't let the cameras see the people who have been knocked out because you shoot them fast enough, but I fail to land my shots on those farther cameras. So the cameras will end up seeing people, and it will call a caution phase, but it's really not that big of a deal. Starting a caution phase on the way out of Shell 1's core can be annoying, but getting a caution phase called on the way in isn't a big deal, because as long as you have the AK out and the BDU on, the guards won't be able to know that you're not a guard, so it's not a big deal. So there we go. We take out all the cameras before the backup gets in here, and then we're going to call the elevator. You hit the elevator button twice, because elevators can come fast or slow, and if they come fast, they'll show up right when you push the button once, but if they come slow, they can come pretty slow. However, if you push the button a second time, it'll speed the elevator up substantially. So just when you're at elevators, you just normally hit elevator buttons twice. This room, pretty basic to end up routing through. Sorry, my voice is kind of hoarse. Like I said, I'm a bit hungover, so my throat is sore, and and I have to make sure I keep clearing it, but in a way that can't be heard by the microphone, so I'm not just sitting here giving you an earful of DSP noises. So I apologize for the occasional maybe difference in volume. The difference is in volumes when I'm speaking. I'm trying to subtly clear my throat just by talking at a different volume without pulling a DSP on anyone in here. So anyway, once you've got the directional microphone from Emma's office, you're gonna come up here, and this area is pretty simple. You knock on the wall so that this guard comes around. You hold him up to the scanner, and this guard has to be alive. You can't knock this guard out and then put him up against the scanner. He has to be awake. So you have to put him in a headlock, drag him over to the scanner. That'll open the wall up, and then we have to go in here and find aims, which on easier difficulties or on earlier playthroughs, to find aims, you have to check everyone down here's heart with the directional microphone, and aims is a pacemaker, so his heart kind of makes a different sound. But since we already know what aims looks like, we just run through and then look until we find the NPC that's aims, and I think he's really close. Yeah, he's right here. So we just see him and immediately go, "You're aims, aren't you?" And he responds, triggers the cutscene. You have to do that pretty fast, because guards can see you from basically across the room, and there's like 3 guards in here on European Extreme. So the second you pull the directional microphone out, they catch on to your shit, and they try to call you out. So you really have to know that you're dealing with aims before you pull that directional microphone out, which again, when you've played the game a bunch, and you know what aims look like, it's not a big deal. But I don't recommend people play on Extreme or European Extreme if it's your first time playthrough. I think it'll lead to way too much frustration, because the European Extreme forces you to optimize the fights and set pieces in this game to an extent that anyone who's playing it for the first time is just gonna think it's awful, and they're gonna get so frustrated and turned off, they're just not gonna want to play. It's for true hardcore gamers only, alright? So routing out of this room is the part that took me quite a while to get down properly, and I fucked it up a lot. I almost fucked it up here and had to restart, but because I run back in the elevator and that guy almost sees me on the way out, but I barely catch him. And then we're going to come around this corner here. This is where cameras would normally see you, and you need to throw a chaff. But because chaffs take so long to detonate on the HD version, I get seen by the cameras half the time, because I can't get the timing down between the chaff exploding, so I just take the cameras out now. Ideally, you want to be able to take that shielded guard out before he calls in reinforcements from people getting knocked down, but I fail to do it, which means in the next couple rooms we have to sneak through, there's going to be guards in caution, extra guards in caution, which isn't that big of a deal, but it is annoying. So right there, I pre-fire coming around that corner, because if you don't, that camera does see you. It's like an unreactable mix-up. It's a knowledge check. And the reason I flip across the tiles this time is because you'll notice the tiles came back even though they fell earlier. When we have to return to Shell 1 core later on in the game, the tiles that got knocked down now will not be back. So I leave the tiles up so that I can flip over the missing tiles and get back into Shell 1 core faster later on, and I don't need to deal with as many ciphers. So that guard on the left, the attack team guard, he wouldn't be here if you didn't get a caution phase called on you in that last area, but I did. So it's not a big deal. You just have to shoot an extra guy. Although in this room, you do have to be very, very careful. Make sure if a caution phase is on, you wear your BDU when you're leaving, because there's also an attack team guard on the bottom floor, and he will see you. See how he said, "What's that?" If you did not have the BDU on, just wearing the skull suit, that would have been a detection. I've run into that problem once before on a different run. And so make sure that when you're sneaking around in this area, just keep the BDU on for safety. There's no reason to not have it on until you get into this room, in which you can sneak through the entire room just using the cardboard box. As long as you stick close to the wall of the conveyors, you're fine. Wait here for this guard to pass so he doesn't catch you out and see the box sneaking across. And then just continue to get through the room the way you did earlier, and just stick close to the conveyor. Nothing will see you. It's like the box is like your ability to crouch run. Crouch running didn't exist until like Metal Gear Solid 4, so the box is your way to crouch run in this game. Or maybe, I don't know. Yeah, no, Peace Walker came out after Metal Gear Solid 4, I think, and Peace Walker had crouch running, so I don't think being able to crouch walk was a thing until Metal Gear Solid 4. In this room, notice that guard doesn't see me like he did earlier. That's because the BDU is being worn, so it shortens his sightline enough that you have a much easier, more lenient shot to line up. And then this guard right here is an attack team guard from Caution. Normally he's not there, but he is because I got caught. So I'm going to knock these 2 guys out and then head into the door up here. And this is going to be the spot where we next get to save. I would recommend saving at the start of the Harrier fight, but I save at this part after the codec call. I'm going to skip a cutscene, and then I'm going to shoot out the C4. Right here. I save right here. I don't show it because this is a successful run that I didn't fail on. But I save right here before I shoot down all of these light transmitters. You don't need to do that. I would save at the start of the Harrier fight so that if you mess up on the Harrier fight or later, you don't need to return. So that if you mess up during the Harrier fight, you don't need to return and shoot everything out again. You can just immediately restart the Harrier fight, but it's up to you. It's not a big deal. When you know where all these things are, you can shoot them out pretty quickly. You shoot the wall right there to get rid of the birds because apparently birds can stop high-caliber sniper rifle rounds with their bodies. Like, you would think that a creature with hollow bones and who is lightweight enough to propel themselves through the air would kind of lose to a sniper rifle shot, but clearly they're thick enough that a sniper rifle shot goes right. It's stuck right in them, doesn't go through at all. Stand on your tippy toes to get those 2 transmitters, and the last one's on the wall behind it. Now the Harrier fight's gonna start. The Harrier fight, I've got a lot of things to say about the Harrier fight. I quite enjoy the Harrier fight, but I'll explain a few of the things I do in the Harrier fight before I get into why I enjoy the Harrier fight. All right, come on, Kodak. Let's get it on here, all right? So immediately when the Harrier fight starts, run forward and grab the Stinger missile, and then take your 3 shots at the Harrier. And then for the 4th shot, you're going to want to turn around and try to get it as it passes over you. I miss it, and I'm not able to get it to lock on in time, but that 4th shot is nice to have. Then the Harrier is going to come flying at you from this side of the map, and you want to shoot it when it comes in, get on the stairs to avoid the missile, and then start shooting it immediately when it recovers. So, the Harrier fight is a pretty simple fight on paper. It's a jet, and you shoot Stinger missiles at it, and you avoid its attacks. It's pretty simple on paper, but I've really come to have an appreciation for the Harrier fight because of how you need to optimize it when you play on higher difficulties. Excuse me. On lower difficulties, the Harrier fight is arguably kind of a boring fight because it takes a pretty good amount of shots, even compared to European Extreme. Even on easier difficulties, it's just that it does less damage to you and it leaves itself open a lot longer. So a lot of people who play this game at first really aren't a big fan of the Harrier fight. Right there, I tried to get another piece of damage snuck between an attack, but I missed it. So a lot of times with a lot of people who play the game at first really don't like the Harrier fight that much. They think it's kind of a boring fight. Oh, you just run, avoid the attacks, and shoot Stinger missiles at it. But when you play it on harder difficulties, the fight becomes actually a lot of fun because when you get to the halfway point of the Harrier fight and he starts firing missiles and machine gun shots at you, really the only times that you can do damage to him are after the missile barrage and after the machine gun barrage. But here you'll notice I sneak in 1 shot right when he comes up and then I go to avoiding the missiles. So this is a trick right here where when you peek out of cover, you have iframes. So I peek out, take a shot, come back in, peek out, take a shot, come back in, and that will keep you safe from the missiles. And then I line up a few really good shots here. This can go badly, and sometimes your Stinger missile will miss, and then you just won't get any damage because it'll fly off into the distance and you can't fire another shot. But the Harrier fight here is really, really fun, I think, because if you don't want to have to go through 3 cycles of machine gun missile, machine gun missile, machine gun missile over and over and over again, you have to make the fight go by a lot faster by finding places where you can sneak damage in without taking damage yourself. And finding those small areas to optimize the fight really does make it a satisfying fight because it really exhibits and feels like you are kind of exhibiting or showing your mastery of the fight to have been able to find all of these small areas to sneak damage in. And these small places where you can sneak damage in make a big difference. It's the difference between having to wait through 3 separate volleys of missiles and machine guns to being able to beat him after only a machine gun missile volley or only maybe 2 volleys of missiles and 1 volley of machine gun. The fight can go by substantially faster if you find all the small places to sneak these shots in. And I don't know. I just find it's a very satisfying fight to play when you are very, very, very well acquainted with it, because finding all of these places to sneak shots in on the Harrier, despite how dangerous it is, it's like you're living on the edge, right? Being able to fire a missile there and then immediately go to avoiding shots and I've got like only a hair of time to avoid those missiles with my first set of iframes. It's a very satisfying feeling to exhibit your kind of mastery over this fight, and it's the same with the Hind in Metal Gear Solid 1. So right here was what I'm talking about. The missile misses, and I just get stuck doing like no damage. It's kind of like the Hind fight in Metal Gear Solid 1 as well, where on paper it's a very standard kind of boring fight. Just a guy in a helicopter and you just shoot him down with missiles. Like, yawn, what do? Oh, shoot with you machine gun? Boring. But when you learn how the Hind moves and how to avoid it and where to sit in its blind spots to optimize damage on it, because even when you do optimize the damage, the fight isn't over instantly. There is no cheap, cheesy trick versus the Hind or versus the Harrier to end the fight quickly. There's only a bunch of small openings that you fundamentally understand how the fight works on such a level that you're able to capitalize on frequently enough to take the fight down much faster than usual. And I find it turns it into a very, very satisfying fight once you really sit down and learn the fight. And you're not forced to do that unless you play it on a difficulty that forces you to optimize your play. So I've come to have a lot of appreciation for the Harrier fight that I didn't used to have, and that a lot of people don't seem to have when they're first playing. I leave this death in just because I think that's kind of funny to have a Harrier fight that was relatively clean. I miss a lot of damage, but I also get a lot of damage, and I think I show a good example of how to fight it. Just to then instantly flip off into the ocean. Good thing I save after the Harrier fight, but yeah, I flip across this here. You don't need to do that, but it's faster, and I can't be fucked to slowly crawl across the pipe every single time. So this is a spot where you are going to want to wear the BDU. You need to make sure you wear the BDU here if you don't want to wait around for a long time. Two guards are going to come out of the right over here, and if you're wearing the BDU, you're able to climb up on top of this railing much faster than if you're just wearing the skull suit. Make sure you go all the way to the right until Raiden can't go any more to the right, and then climb up, and those guards won't be able to see you as long as you're wearing the BDU. So right here, I make sure I'm all the way to the right, climb up, and the guards don't see me. And then up here, you have to move very fast if you want to do this tactic. Immediately start holding left, or right. Immediately start holding right, so you run the second it comes into the loading area. Roll at the first window, and then roll again immediately and go into a crouch. And that will take you across under these guys. You don't need to unequip the BDU there, but I do it just because I get a kick out of it. Because watching Raiden go behind the thing and be obscured and then come out wearing a different outfit, it gives me like Looney Tunes vibes, and I get a kick out of it. So I do it, but you have no reason to uninstall to unequip the BDU. You can press A to skip the guard pissing over the edge right there and just run under him a lot faster. And then up here, we're going to be going into the Shell 2 core. We use our last chaff grenade because there's going to be a bunch of ciphers across the bridge, but we get more chaff grenades if you run to the right up here. It's important to make sure you kind of grab these chaff grenades. So yeah, and then just flip across the bridge. And that's pretty self-explanatory. This next part's also going to be pretty self-explanatory. It's going to be skipping cutscenes, and then there's no guards to avoid. It's just going to be routing to get a Nikita missile and then firing that through the vents. There's really nothing to talk about or point out in the game in particular. So I guess I'll just, I have to find something to ramble about for a bit. But oh yeah, I was talking about how I like the Harrier fight earlier. But yeah, so the Harrier fight's definitely a fight I have an appreciation for, that I feel like that's kind of a good way. You know how it's one of those things like, tell me you're an expert Metal Gear Solid player without telling me you're an expert Metal Gear Solid player. And you look him right in the eye and you say, I really like the Harrier fight. Oh, this guy's a pro, watch out. Because I feel like most people who I've talked to who've played this game but only ever played it on normal is like, yeah, the Harrier fight's alright. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's great either. I think maybe it goes on a little too long. But everyone I've talked to who has played this game and gotten a big boss clear, or has played this game on European Extreme and plays it well, is generally like, oh, I like the Harrier fight. Like, it can be frustrating at times if you're like a speedrunner and you mess up on it, because there's a lot of places where you can mess up. But just in a normal Extreme run, I find it to be a very satisfying fight to play. So that's how you can tell the true gamers. That's how you can separate the weak from the strong, is whether or not they like the Harrier fight. Kind of reminds me of playing against like Aoko in Melty Blood Actress again. For anyone who doesn't know, it's just a fighting game, and Aoko is a character who places these like landmines out. Well, they're like floating mines, and she can detonate them manually, and if you get too close to them, they go off. And she's a character a lot of people hate fighting because they're like, oh my god, Aoko's so busted. She just places mines and wins. You can't do anything. You can't approach. She covers all her options. It's impossible. She's so boring. It takes so long to fight her. But when you really understand how this character works, you can actually find a lot of openings Because like visually there's not a lot of openings. It really looks like she really is scary and there's no openings. Well, there's always landmines and she's always throwing beams around. It's like there's no way in. But when you observe the character's frame data, or you look at when the character has specific recovery where other characters generally wouldn't, you can actually find a lot of openings that you need to be brave and you need to have the game knowledge and game sense to know that you can get in there, even though it looks like you can't. And when you start to capitalize on all those small openings regularly, she has so much less freedom in so many more matchups that the Aoko matchup becomes a much more enjoyable game of like push and pull between you and her. And that's how I feel the Harrier fight is. I feel like if you don't know how it works, it probably frustrates you to no end. But when you know how it works, it's a very enjoyable fight, similarly to Aoko, despite what most people will say, because they're bad at video games. With the President in here, when you bring the Nikita missile in, if he runs back towards the electrical panel and he trips and falls, you do not want to shoot the electrical panel, because you will kill him and that will give you a game over. You need to then abort, shoot the missile into a different wall, and shoot a second missile in. I got lucky and the President decided to just run forward and then duck, and I'm kind of moving the missile left and right quickly so that it doesn't speed up, and then when he ducks, I'm able to go and hit the electrical panel. But if he ever runs towards the electrical panel and trips, do not shoot the electrical panel. If he goes to the electrical panel and crouches, you can shoot the very, very, very far left side of the electrical panel and you won't hit him. But I would say if he's over there, just keep firing missiles until he gets the fuck out of there. He's a pain in the ass. And when you're a pro gamer like me, you don't need to worry about it. But you know, if you're not a pro gamer, I took these photos. But if you're not a pro gamer, then you know, he might be a bit of an issue for you. All right, you're not allowed to kill the President with missiles. So now that we've gotten through with this President part, we're gonna have to go down into another swimming section and rescue Emma. There's really not much to say about this swimming section. There's some mines in there that can kill you instantly if you hit them, but just route around them. There's really not much to say. Really not much to say about it. So I'm gonna have to find something else to ramble about, I guess. I remember having a thought earlier, just thinking about how I was talking about how these games are just set pieces linked together with stealth sections, and people give Kojima a lot of shit for how he directs his games, and they say they might as well just be movies. Kojima just wants to make movies, and I think you can see the clear influence Kojima takes from movies in his games, but I don't think that Kojima is a bad game director, and quite frankly, I think his games are really, really good, and I have a lot of respect for Kojima as an artist, because I do think games are art. Now, I'm not going to get into a whole topic about that, but I think that Kojima is a prime example of an artist who, even if you don't like his games, I think he does deserve a good amount of respect. Similar to like Hideki Kamiya is another director I really, really love, and I would say they're both artists, but they're in different ways. Kojima is an artist because of how he explores the themes and motifs of the games he makes through the weird fine details that he includes in the gameplay, but then also in the cutscenes and stories that he tells with his games. That because a lot of people, I feel like, don't give the stories of Metal Gear enough credit. They look at the macro story and go, oh, it's wild, it's about clones and recessive and positive genes, and oh, Solidus is the president of the United States, who's a clone of Big Boss, this game is wild. But when you look at the more micro events and the character interactions and the developments and the motifs of the games, I feel like the games, they don't get the kind of credit they deserve for exploring the themes they do. And so we'll talk about the vamp fight here real fast. The vamp fight is pretty simple. It's easy to mess up if you're a big stupid idiot like me, and I did mess it up a few times. But you shoot him in the head, and then you hang off the edge right here, and he's going to come to swing a knife at you. When he comes to swing that knife at you, you're going to stand up to avoid the knife swing, and then you're going to punch him twice or once, and from there you just loop that forever. So you stand up here, you're going to hit him, and he's going to swing the knife again, and then you avoid the knife, and you can punch him up to 6 times. I do anywhere between 1 to 6, but 6 is the max you can do. And you punch him 1 to 6 times, and you avoid the knife, and then you get close and do that again. If you're too far away, he'll dive away from you, and if that happens, just shoot 2 Stinger missiles into the center pool of water when he dives in, and then hang on the edge and just do this again. And that's the whole vamp fight. This is actually quite an interesting room, because there's a lot of similarities in Metal Gear Solid 2 that are just references to Metal Gear Solid 1. A big part of this game is that this is a simulation to be a recreation of Shadow Moses. And something I've seen in another commentary video is that someone brought up that this room is a inverse, it's like a mirror resemblance to the Ocelot fight, because where Ocelot was a gunslinger, because Ocelot's arena was a square room where you couldn't go into the center because the center was death. And Ocelot's also a gunslinger. But then you come into the Vamp fight, and Vamp's the opposite of a gunslinger. He's a close quarters fighter with knives who throws knives, but he's primarily a close quarters fighter with knives. And this room is still a square room where you can't go into the center because it's death to you, but it's not death to Vamp. So it's a mirror image of the Shadow Moses fight with Ocelot, but with a twist to it. And there are so many small pieces of Metal Gear Solid 2 that have details like that I feel like just get overlooked until you really start to look at the game and analyze it on a much closer level. And when you do analyze and look at these games at a closer level, I feel like you have you gain a much deeper appreciation for them than a lot of people, I feel like, again, give the games credit for. And I was talking about how I really respect Kojima as an artist in the same way I respect Hideki Kamiya, even though they make very different games. Hideki Kamiya makes very action games that I consider kind of a work of art in the sense that they're very elegantly designed. Everything in Hideki Kamiya's games, from the enemy balance to the way the game controls, is very, very, very intentional and elegantly designed. And I could talk for hours, maybe not unscripted without a lot of rambling and off the cuff, whatever. And since this is unscripted, I'm kind of having a hard time articulating exactly what it is about it. But given time to write something down, I could talk for a long time about the elegance in Hideki Kamiya's design and why I view he as a true artist of a game director. And I feel Kojima is in the same way, even though he hits very, very, very different points from Kamiya, and he explores very different themes and genres within his games. But again, Metal Gear is so wild that a lot of people usually will just play it once on like normal difficulty, and they will watch like plot recaps. You want to make sure you grab the PSG-1T here. That's very important. We're going to need that. And they just like watch plot recaps of the macro events of the story, and they think, wow, this game is wild, this game is wacky. And then they'll see like funny clips of people posting like all the funny things you can do with all the weird small things that have attention to detail put into them in his games, and they go, wow, what a wacky, silly game. But if the longer you play these games and the more you look into them past the surface level, you really notice there is a lot more to these games than Giz initially let on. And I would highly recommend that anyone who has an interest in maybe these kinds of games play them more than just once, and you kind of view them with a critical eye, and you'll find there's a lot more to love about them than you initially thought. So coming up here with Emma, she will get afraid of the bugs right here. Oh, make sure you put your BDU on, that's important. She'll be afraid of the bugs right here. So normally you'd spray them away with coolant, but if you just put her in a headlock, you can just drag her through. I choke her once there, so no, you're not getting out of this. And I drag her through the bugs. She won't, as long as you don't snap her neck, she'll be fine. You don't have to worry about hurting her right there. This part's very important. Pay close attention. You want to grab Emma and immediately go straight down. Do not take any curves. Do not take any turns. Go straight down. Hit the wall and go straight left. The second you see the opening of that doorway, go straight down again. Do not cut any corners. Hit the chairs and go straight left. And then the second you come out of this door, go straight down, close to the wall. You do not want to cut any corners, or else that guard will see you. And you do not want to take that last turn wide, or else you will not have enough time to get to the end of this hall before he turns and sees Emma. So this guard's going to come out of the elevator. When he does, the first guard will look to the right. If you and Emma are not basically cleared of that wall, that guard sees you, and that's an alert, and now you don't get your big boss ranking. There's two guards you have to take out here that are pretty simple to take out. Stand around that wall, take that first one out, hold the next guy up, take him out, drag Emma up, and there's going to be a third guard who will do a guard jump scare when you get to the top of these stairs. If you run ahead willy-nilly, he'll see you, but if you run up to these like kind of boxes right here and then stop, the guard comes out and tries to jump scare you, but he's really easy to tranquilize him if you see him coming. And then you just drag Emma through. That part right there at the very beginning where you have to drag Emma down, left, down. That's the only part where there's really a risk of you getting caught in this part. And from here, it's just the sniping section. And we keep in mind, okay, so here, there's going to be a guard at the top of this. Grab your trap grenades, that's important. There's going to be a guard at the top of this. Make sure you knock him out. And then come across, make sure you throw your trap grenade as well, because there's going to be ciphers towards the end of this bridge. Grab Emma and start walking across the bridge. And there will be one more guard at the end of the bridge that you're going to want to take out. And you'll see when I get there. There's no reason for me to give you a play-by-play of this. This is very self-explanatory. You're going to knock the guard at the end of this bridge out, and then you're going to throw another chaff, and you're going to drag Emma to the next section. It's the footage here speaks for itself. There's no like really anything to go over here. So we've used 4 saves right now. We used our first save when we got to the plant, and we started the bomb defusal mission. We used our next save before the Fat Man fight. We used our 3rd save before the Harrier fight, and we used our 4th save after the Harrier fight. We have 4 more saves. In this specific run, I save at the sniper section with Emma. I would not recommend doing that. I'll explain why I do it when I get there, but I would not recommend doing that. I would recommend saving your 4th save for when you get onto Arsenal gear. Then saving your 5th save for when you get onto Arsenal gear. Then your 6th save for the start of the Tengu fight. The 7th save for the start of the Ray fight. And then your last save for the final boss. Because if you don't do that, then you're going to have to forego a save either at the Rays, the final boss, or the Tengus. And if you do any of that, then you're going to have to run through the previous section before you can get to the next section. And that can get kind of tedious if you're practicing it or you just happen to fail it a couple of times. So I would not recommend saving here at the sniper section, but I do, and there is a reason I do it, and you'll see the reason I do it in a second. Well, I'll explain the reason I do it. I thought I had an alert at this point, because I got all the way to Arsenal gear, and I lost the Tengu fight. But when I was dead, I saw on the game over screen that it said I had 3 alerts, but I shouldn't have. I should have had 2 alerts, because the only 2 alerts that you should have are the Tengu fight start and the second part of the Tengu fight. So I thought, does Emma getting caught by a guard on the bridge count as an alert? There's no way, because no alert siren goes off. That's just a spotted. So, you saw I had no alerts. But to make sure that I had no alerts, I had to save here. And this is, by the way, the 3rd time I've done this sniper section, because I failed on Arsenal gear once without saving. I got to Arsenal gear and saved once. And then I got to Arsenal gear and realized I had a fucking 3 alerts and had to do this again. So I'm not happy. I'm hungry and I'm upset right now. So I to test and see if I have an alert, I execute Emma. I need to see if I have an alert to see if it's a game bug, because I know for a fact that I did not have an alert. And I check it right here and I see, yes, I have 1 alert. So I looked this up online, and apparently on the HD collection, at some point it just adds an alert to you, but it's not an alert that counts. So don't worry about that. If you get here and it says you have 1 alert and you haven't gotten caught, you don't actually have 1 alert. Go into your thermal goggles here, eat your, what's called pentazamine. Yeah, eat your pentazamine. And this is where the PSGT was necessary, because we need to be able to take these guards out non-lethally. So guards will go out with 3 torso shots with the PSG. So if I can't line up the head, I just go for the torso shots, because I can't be fucked to aim in the head with like the kind of janky, like 1-speed sniper rifle aiming that is in Metal Gear Solid 2. It's not bad. It's better than Metal Gear Solid 1, but it's still frustrating in its own right. Which you'll see here, because I didn't realize my mic was on. Well, I mean, I knew my mic was on, but I was sitting basically on the other side of my room when I was recording this. I was playing it on a bigger TV, and my computer was just hooked up to it with some long wires. So I didn't realize my mic was on. And keep in mind, like I said, at this point, I'm very grouchy, and I'm very hungry, and I'm not a happy camper that I've had to do this again. So I think there's a point where I actually get mad enough to yell at the game, and you hear that, and I get a kick out of it. But that kind of gives you an idea of where I am mentally. Once Emma gets halfway across this first bridge, 3 more guards are going to show up. Top left, bottom right, bottom left. I hit the first one in the head, but I just do body shots on these guys right here, because if you stand right on top of where the sniper rifle ammo spawns, it'll just fill you up with more ammo every time you run out, so it's not a big deal. This part's pretty self-explanatory. You just shoot down the ciphers when you see ciphers, and then make sure you shoot the guards at the right time. There's going to be 2 guards at the start, 3 guards when she gets halfway across the first bridge, and then 1 guard when she gets to the end of the first bridge. Then there's going to be 3 guards when she gets halfway across the second bridge, and 1 guard when she gets to the second tower. After that, there's no more guards, only ciphers. So I'm waiting for her to get to the end of this first bridge right here, so that I can knock out this next guard with the PSG-1T, and he will be appearing up at the top left. And I'm just waiting for him there. My camera's shaking because my pentazamine wore off, and I'm just waiting to see him so I can eat another tasty pentazamine mint. And there you go. So now I've eaten another tasty mint, and I can go back to... There he is. Knocking him out. Beautifully lined up shot. Beautiful. I'm an expert sniper if I do say so myself. I can't imagine missing any shot after that. It would be embarrassing. This Claymore's giving me a bit of trouble. So, when you zoom all the way in, the fucking scope is kind of like on a grid, it feels like. So if you don't zoom out and move it, it can be kind of difficult to hit things. Let me... I think this is right. Yeah, so I'm not happy about that. I'm really upset that I can't line my crosser up to hit this. And I got to eat a pentazamine again, waste all my tasty mints. I go back in and I make sure to swing the camera around.
Thank fucking Christ.
That's like me genuinely upset right there. I'm not happy about that. But I make sure to swing the camera around without zooming in first to kind of line myself up. But I've seen some people go, oh, that wasn't a problem on the PS2 version. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I played this game a lot on the PS2, and I gotta say, knowing how to do this spot, the pentazamine makes the camera not shake, but that doesn't make it any easier to aim. But, I don't know. Some people say it's an HD edition just sucks, but I don't know. Sniping was always a bit wonky. So Emma's halfway across the second bridge, which means on the second towers, there's gonna be 3 more guards. Top left, bottom right, bottom left. Next guard's coming out of the bottom right real soon. There he is. I just go for, like, the body shots with 3, and then 1, 2, 3 body shots. Simple as. And then when Emma gets to the end... Oh, there's a Cypher. Keep an eye out on the Cyphers and make sure to take them out with the lethal sniper rifle when they show up. I think I'm going to miss a bunch of shots on this Cypher because I'm stupid. No, it must be the next Cypher I missed a bunch of shots on. But when Emma gets to the end of this tower, that's when the last guard is going to appear top left again. So, I'll reiterate. At the very start, 2 guards, 1 on each tower. Halfway across the first bridge, 3 guards, top left, bottom right, bottom left. Then she gets to the tower, 1 more guard, top left. Second set is going to be halfway across the second bridge. There's going to be 3 guards, top left, bottom right, bottom left. Then when she gets to the tower, make sure to grab that pentazamine again. Then when she gets to the second tower, when she gets to the second tower, make sure you grab your pentazamine again. But also, when she gets to the tower, the last guard is going to show up, top left. And this is the last guard you're going to have to deal with. At this point, you only need to deal with Cyphers, but just keep an eye on them. You don't really need the goggles anymore. I think I put them on again at some point, but at this point, just kind of keep your eye on the sky and make sure no Cyphers get to Emma. There's 2 that'll try to sneak up on her. That's the first one that'll try to sneak up on her. And then there's another that will try to sneak up on her. It'll come from behind the second tower, so you need to keep your eye on that. But other than that, not a big deal. This part is... This part's pretty whatever. I think Snake gives you a call, and he's like, Raiden, if you need any help, I'll help you out. But the easier difficulty you play on, this earlier Snake will call you. There's the Snake call. The easier difficulty you play on, the earlier Snake will call you. I'm playing on Extreme, so he calls you basically when everything's already dead, and he doesn't help at all. And at this point, yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. Just shoot some Cyphers down. I'm gonna pee. I'll be right back. I'll take a quick pee. I got a, tactical pee break right here.
It's empty.
Alright, I'm back. I've been drinking a lot of water to kind of cure how raspy my hangover, dried throat is, so I had to pee really bad. Everything that's happened up to this point is pretty self-explanatory, though. Vamp shows up. Try to land yourself up with the sniper rifle ammo, so it just refills you automatically, and then just wail into his leg. Eat all your tasty pentazamine mints, and then just wail on him. Just shoot him in the leg over and over again. Pretty simple. Everything is pretty self-explanatory up at that point. So at this part, this is going to be the last sneaking... Well, no, there's going to be one more sneaking section on Arsenal after this, but it's short. After you call Snake, make sure you put your BDU on. Because when you are sneaking through this area... also, I didn't mention this in the swimming section, but make sure you grab the body armor. I went out of my way to grab it. That's going to be important. Not like super mega important, but it's important. It makes taking damage from certain enemies not so fucked up when you get on Arsenal. Anyway, Equip the BDU here, because that guy will see you when you get to the top of the stairs if you don't have the BDU on. He won't go into alert, but he'll go, who was that? And he'll start walking over, and you have to take a really fast shot. BDU just makes so you don't need to do that. Here we're going to throw a chaff grenade to make our way back across the bridge into the Shell 1 core. And this is where we're going to have to flip over the tiles that I left myself gaps for on purpose. So here you're going to get to that first pillar and just go straight left of the bridge. And here, this is where we're going to flip across our panels. So this is why I flipped across the bridge when I was coming out of the core earlier. It's so that when I come back in, I only need one chaff grenade and I can quickly flip right over the pillars. All the cameras in here are going to be down. Even if you didn't take the cameras out, Snake takes these cameras out when he comes in here. So you just run through this area. There's no enemies. You're not going to run into any enemies until you get to Arsenal, which is coming up right here. So, all right. And we're on the final stretch of the game already. It feels like we started not too long ago, and already we're at the final stretch of the game. Don't save here. Wait until you get into Arsenal to save, because there's going to be an unskippable cutscene. And you don't want to have to watch that every single time if you fuck up the sneaking section. You're going to want to just be able to reset.
Jack the Ripper.
Solidus is going to choke you out here in this cutscene, and it'll tell you tap triangle to not take damage. You don't have to do it though. That's just kind of a tutorial showing you that you're going to have to tap later when he's choking you. If you don't tap the button here at all, you don't take damage. Oh, it says hit Y repeatedly. But yeah, now I'm playing on a PS3 controller, so I think it kind of fakes the drivers to thinking it's an Xbox controller. But no, I play on a PS3 controller. I don't like the PS4 controller as much as the PS3 controller. The PS3 controller and the PS2 controller are my favorite controllers. But they don't run too well on computers without special drivers. And then my PS3 controller is mega old. I think it's got a loose USB on the PCB or something, because when it vibrates, it occasionally drops my inputs. So it disconnects for like a moment and drops my inputs. So I think I need to resolder my mini USB port on the PCB inside the controller. I've taken it apart a couple of times and had to do some maintenance on it, because it's the original black one that came with my fat PS3 when the PS3 first came out. So it's an old fucking controller. Anyway, I call Rose here because if you call her, then you get let off the stretcher earlier than if you don't call her. I don't save until I get off the stretcher though, just because I didn't know where that would leave me. And then I call her again by accident because I'm used to playing with O confirm and X back, and I do that all the time on this fucking HD collection. I don't know why you can't change it to be O forward X back like you could in the original, but whatever. So this is where I'll save. I save here so that these are going to be your last 3 saves. And I save here so that I can, if I fuck up the stealth section in Arsenal, I can reset here, but it's not too hard, but it might take a bit of practice. Coming in here, immediately hold select so that you answer the call as soon as possible. Excuse me. Then you're going to have to flip across that gap right there, go up these stairs, and you can route this room however you want. This is just the fastest way to get through the room. When you hit these stairs again, I hit select very quickly to answer the codec. You don't need to hit select quickly, but it makes this window right here a lot bigger. You're going to have to run under this camera and then across the bridge. Now, if you don't answer the codec early on the stairs and coming in, that window is going to be so ridiculously small that it feels impossible. But if you answer both of your codecs quickly, you can run right under that camera, and then you just get right to the end of Arsenal right here. You can route the sneaking section of Arsenal however you want, really. I just do it that way because it's the fastest possible way to do it. But there's no hard and fast rules for how you route Arsenal. And then we're going to have to answer, I think, 6 codec calls in here. If you run too far forward, the next part won't trigger, so I kind of just run right up to where those 3 lines on the ground are, and I stop him and I just answer all my codec calls. After about 6 of them, Snake will come in and he will give you all your gear back. Then you go through a cutscene, and that's when the Tengu fight starts. And I would save at the start of the Tengu fight because I find the Tengu fight to be very frustrating on the HD version of this game. Remember when we picked up all those flash grenades and I said you're going to need all of them? It's important? Well, yeah, you're going to need all of them. It's important. Because of how long it takes flashbangs to explode in the HD version, it's very, very easy for you to be priming one flashbang and then waiting for the first one to go off. And in that time, because it takes so long for them to go off, a guard shoots you and you drop the flashbang, and now you've wasted a flashbang. You really only need, I think, technically 3 for this section, but 4 is usually more consistent. But on the HD edition, you almost fucking need 6, because if you just don't have 6 and you drop one, you feel fucked. So, yeah. What I do here is you swing the sword once. When you swing the sword, it starts a 45-second countdown. And at that countdown, because the game wants you to know how the sword works, so it gives you some time to mess around with it. But you swing the sword once, that starts the 45-second countdown. And then you just wait for the fight to start. I remember to equip my body armor. That's important. And then you just wait for the fight to start. So walk up to the door, not like all the way up to the door, but, you know, up the corridor a little bit. And after 45 seconds, it'll start. Okay, so after these cutscenes, the Tengu fight will start. Cypher is going to fly up over the wall and is going to see you, and then the Tengu fight starts. That is when I would use my 6th save. However, because I saved at the Sniper Tower, I was not able to save here. So I had to do the Tengu and the sneaking section in one run. But you should save here if you have all your saves still. Throw a stun grenade, and immediately once you've thrown it, cut a 45-degree angle and put the box on while running. That will help you avoid these shots and get behind this. See how long that grenade takes to go off? Once it pops, come around the corner and try to throw the grenade. See right there how I got shot? That's why you need 6 grenades. Because the grenades take so long to go off, you cannot consistently knock all 4 of those first guards out. So you need all 6 grenades. Look, I used all 6 grenades and only made it to the end. So that's why it's important. Wait for your last grenade to go off by the door. Hug the door, go first person, and then do a punch kick, and that will load the next zone. And that's how you get through the first Tengu fight real fast. You might be saying, oh my god, Gibbons, that's exploitative. That's exploitative. You're not a real gamer. You're using exploits. Oh, that's not even my final form. We're not done yet. In the next area, immediately knock Snake out with your tranquilizer gun, and then stand on top of this platform and just start spraying these guards with coolant. This is called coolant skip. I learned this by watching a speedrunning guide by D-Lines, and I'll link his video because he goes into a lot more detail about this tech than I do. So if you want certain tech, his video is a fantastic source for it. You do this for 65 seconds, at least. I go 70 seconds to be safe, but you need to spray all of them after knocking Snake out for 65 seconds, and then do a punch kick, and it will end this section. And it is the fastest way to get through this section with the least amount of hassle. It's really nice to do. It's really consistent. I don't like the Tengu fight. Now, if you wanted to do the Tengu fight legitimately, because you've said, you've disowned me, you said, Gibbons, you're not a true gamer. I'm sick of this shit. I would recommend in the first section, basically just doing it like a very elongated version of the first fight you fought on the tanker against those guys in the hallway. Just crouch behind the boxes and pop up and take shots until all the Tengus go down and slowly work your way up. Then, when you get to this part, I would say use the HF blade. You're going to want to use it in non-lethal mode and focus guys with swords, because Snake will take down the guys with guns very fast, but the guys with swords will deflect Snake's shots. So if you see Snake shooting a guy with a sword, punch kick after 70 seconds, it's going to knock them down. Fight's over. Look at that. Simple, very consistent, very nice tactic, very nice technique. Thank you, D-Lines, for teaching me that. Anyway, so in that fight, though, I would say use your sword, the HF blade, and focus guys who are using swords. And if you see Snake shooting at a guy who's using a sword, hit the guy once and then leave him, because when the guy is staggered from you hitting him, Snake will finish him off. And if you just run around the environment and make sure you don't take unnecessary damage, or if you do take damage, run back into that first room, then crouch behind the wall so that you stop bleeding. If you just do that, you'll get through the Tengu fight normally. I've gotten through the Tengu fight normally. I initially did the Tengu fight normally on the run I was thinking about doing the recording on, but when you have practiced this game and played through this game enough times, you just get so sick of that Tengu fight that I just want to get it the fuck over with. I'm not happy. I am not happy about having to do the Tengu fight. So, you know, leave it up to your discretion which of those tactics you want to use. Now we have the Ray fight coming up. This is the fight that took me the longest to practice and get down, but it's also maybe my favorite fight in the game. I like the Ray fight a lot. And part of why I like the Ray fight is how earlier I talked about how playing on Extreme forces you to change your tactics, and that forces you to view fights so much more differently than you had before, and that change of mentality completely changes the fight. For starters, though, save here, and then immediately flip forward, and you're going to shoot the middle ray, leg, head, the right ray, leg, head, the left ray, leg, head, and then the middle ray again, leg, head. Then the right ray, leg, head. And then the left ray, leg, head. Now, go middle ray, leg, head, and then right ray, only the head, and immediately start running backwards, because you're going to need to avoid that ray's jumping. Avoid his hydraulic beam, blast him, and then kill the ray on the right. Now you've got yourself set up to maintain control of this Ray fight. And that's what this fight's all about. This fight is about maintaining control of an inherently chaotic situation. Once this Ray jumps in, shoot him, delay your shot on his head a little bit to give the Rays that are coming in some time to come in, but don't delay it too much. And then shoot the first Ray over here, stand on top of the ammo pack closest to this wall like I'm doing, and from here, this is going to be where you spend most of the fight. And you're going to just want to disperse your damage among these Rays as evenly as possible, while making sure that you avoid the Rays that jump in from stomping on top of you. And this is what's going to happen. You're going to shoot the Ray in the middle, and then turn to shoot the one closest to you, and then shoot the Ray in the middle, and then turn to shoot the one closest to you, and when there is no Ray in the middle, you're going to take pot shots at the Rays along the edges. You're not going to be able to do too much damage to those Rays on the edges, and firing 2 missiles at them is going to take so long that the Ray closest to you might be able to run away and become a second edge Ray, which can be an issue if you have too many Rays on the edges because they will start to fire missiles at you. It'll go full chaos mode, and it will be just really, really annoying to have to deal with. This fight is all just about, it's an endurance battle. This fight is an endurance battle that's just all about maintaining control of the fight. And you'll see that I fire one over, and you just want to try to keep these Rays' health bars even. Make sure you're aware of when Rays are jumping in, because if a Ray sneaks up and jumps in behind you, and they hit you with that beam, it's an instant kill. So, just even if you have B armor on, like, you'll survive one shot with the body armor if it's a machine gun, but anything else will instantly kill you from the Rays. So you need to be careful, and you need to be aware of what Rays are jumping in. And I've really, really come to love this fight, because again, when you're playing this fight on normal difficulty, well, number one, it's not as much of an endurance test, but it kind of just feels like fucking Ornstein and Smo, right? Because when the game gets full chaos mode, you really just have to just avoid all of their attacks and then attack in between the gaps. And that just feels like some fucking Dark Souls multi-enemy boss fight, R.L. Stine and Smaug, where I take a bit of a hit there, that's not good, but R.L. Stine and Smaug, and you just have to wait for them to exhaust their attack patterns before you can get a hit in, and that can make the fight take a very, very long time. But that's not really a very feasible strategy on harder difficulties because of how long this endurance run lasts. So you have to completely change your mentality from playing reactively and shooting in the openings the game gives you to making your own openings by manipulating the rate in which the Rays can come and go, and by splitting up your attention between the different Rays, making sure you know which Rays have which health bar, and controlling which Rays have as much health as they do, so that when they jump in the middle, you don't need to dedicate too many shots to them. It's all about maintaining control, and I've really come to enjoy that fight for that, because when you play this game on normal as well, you might think, well, this fight's just like the Harrier fight. The Harrier fight was just about avoiding shots and then shooting with the Stinger missile. Oh, it's so boring. And the Ray fight's just about avoiding shots and shooting with the Stinger missile. Oh, but it takes forever. Oh my god, it's so boring. I'm not a huge fan of the Ray fight. But I've come to really enjoy the Ray fight, because when you play it on these high difficulties, it is less about finding openings and shooting in those openings, and it is more about maintaining control. This is an extremely chaotic situation where you have to partition your attention, divide your attention between 3 different targets with different health values, which can be in 3 different places on the map, and might be syncopating their attacks in a way that you are not aware of. You need to be able to maintain control of all 3 of those aspects: their position, their health, and which attack they're using and where it might be coming from. And being forced to think of the fight like that because of the harder difficulty forcing you to optimize your play, it completely changes how you view things. And the fight goes from being, oh, it's just another Harrier type fight where you're going to be shooting lots of missiles and blowing things up to have high health values. It turns from that into a fight that completely comes into its own and has its own identity, not just from a visual standpoint, because I mean, visually, of course it's unique. You're fighting giant Metal Gears. No other fight in the game is like that, but mechanically and fundamentally, it's basically the Harrier fight if you play on easier difficulties and you just wait for openings. Being forced to play on these harder difficulties and being forced to not be able to wait for openings anymore, because that's not a feasible strategy, completely changed this fight. It really brings it into its own thing, and it stands out among every other fight as a completely unique fight, not just on the surface level, but the way you have to approach it, the way you have to think about it entirely. It completely changes, and it gives you a lot of appreciation for the fight and for the game in general, for what you need, for just truly how distinguished every single set piece in this game is. No 2 set pieces really feel the same or play the same, and at the same time, all, I don't want to say stand for their own thing, as if each set piece is super deep, but each one has like a point to it, I guess. I don't know. It's really hard to fully what's the word I'm looking for? It's hard to truly kind of fully, not extrapolate, but articulate my thoughts on these fights and the game as a whole, and how you come to view it when you are forced to play it at a higher level. But all I can say is that the TLDR is that the Ray fight, when you probably play on easier and normal difficulties, seems like this kind of just tedious, long fight about shooting things with stingers and avoiding attacks from multiple enemies. Oh, I'll just wait for them to exhaust their attack pattern and hit them. But it really becomes so much more than that when you're forced to not become a passive observer in the fight who just does damage where you can, but rather become an aggressive contributor to the fight who needs to take this situation that's completely chaotic and like take control of it. It's very satisfying. It's extremely satisfying to play it well. So don't save here. Wait until the fight was solved to start to do your last save. But so that's why I've come to really enjoy the Ray fight, and it's probably it's probably my favorite fight in the game. This is the part where you are gonna have to mash pretty hard. I remember reading a review. They gave this game a thumbs down, not because they didn't like the HD port or whatever, but because they said the mashing section at the end is impossible with modern controllers, whatever that means. And that until the game is fixed and you can actually beat the final part with the mashing, the game just has a soft lock that makes it impossible to beat, and therefore the game gets a bad review. And I just was laughing my ass off reading that, because it's like, the mashing section gets easier when you play on easier difficulties. So I'm just sitting there laughing my ass off, thinking like, oh my god, this guy probably playing on like normal mode difficulty, and he's getting filtered by the mashing section right before the very last boss. I found that very funny, and I hate when people use the excuse of you're just bad at a game and that's why you don't like it for something. But man, that's a real example of mad 'cause bad. Like, that guy sucks, and this is a bad game because of it.
MGS2 is a system for controlling human will and consciousness.
Anyway, the Solidus fight's got a trick to it, and I'll show this trick here. This fight's actually really sloppy. I did it perfectly twice and then got killed by his last hit because I'm stupid, and that really made me upset. So when I got to this point in the game, I just wanted it to be over. I was very upset. So right here, I'm bleeding out because I got shot by the Ray. So I do a punch kick just so that I can crouch and then save my health bar from just constantly going beeping, beeping, beeping all fight. Here's what you do against Solidus though. You get him to either stagger or something. If you hit him, that's fine, and then you do 2 attacks on his side without his eye patch, and then you run to the side with the eye patch 90 degrees, and you do 1, 2, delay, 3. Hit him twice, he blocks it, 1, 2, delay, 3. Hit him go to the 90 degrees, hit him, he blocks them, 1, 2, delay, 3. If he blocks your punches, always block, because he will do a kick, and then you can punish that kick with a 1, 2, delay, 3. So right there, he blocked my punch, does the kick, 1, 2, delay, 3. Just go back into looping this. Blocks twice, come around, 1, 2, delay, 3. And you can just keep doing that. That should be the whole fight. That was an accident. I didn't mean to knock him down there. If he does escape this, you're going to need to know how to loop it again and start it. It's pretty easy to do. You either hit him like this, and then when he staggers backwards, you just start... Okay, well, I fuck it up again. You either get him to block you, and then you stand right up next to him. You either get him to block a punch or your sword, and then he'll do his kick after, like right there. There's the kick. So you go 1, 2, 3. But I messed up the third, so he's going to block it. I block, and then 1, 2, 3. Oh, he blocks it, and he's going to go for the kick. I get knocked off the roof. If you're having trouble doing the 1, 2, 3 delay punch, you can just do 1, 2, 3 delay, really delayed, he'll block it, and then you can just loop, blocking the kick, 1, 2, block the kick, 1, 2. You can loop the whole fight like that if you want. It's much faster to do it this way, though, where you go to his non-eye patch side, he'll block twice, run 90 degrees to his eye patch side, 1, 2, 3. And that should be the whole fight. If done correctly, you can do the entire fight this way. So now we're going to go into phase 2. Oh my god, phase 2. This is going to be extremely scary. It's, what are we going to do here? Oh my god, he loses his Dr. Octopus arms. You do the exact same thing. It's the exact same fight. He's going to get like a little more aggressive with his like flaming dashes. Just block him. Just block his flaming dashes, and then, sorry for the lip smack, it got picked up on the mic. I hate when people do that, it's obnoxious. Just block him, and then just do the same thing. 1, 2, 3. Oh, he blocked that. So I'm gonna make him block a bit more. Block his kick, 1, 2, 3. Non-eye patch side, 1, 2, eye patch side, 1, 2, 3. Non-eye patch side, 1, 2, 90 degree eye patch side, 1, 2, 3. Non-eye patch side 1, 2, eye patch side 1, 2, 3. That's the whole fight. You can just do that the whole fight with Solidus. It's better to do your punches early rather than too late. Because if you do your punches too early, he will block your punch, and then you can just block his kick and then start the loop again. If you do it too late, though, he will kick you. My fucking doorbell is ringing, and I'm gonna have to answer that. God damn it. Alright, annoying that I got interrupted because now I'm gonna have to edit the audio in properly. But, I mean, this is the end of the game. There's really nothing more to say. I don't really need to say anything to anything really pertaining to this fight. I've already explained this fight. Just do the 1, 2, 3, block, 1, 2, 3 slash. Not that difficult. And the fight will be over. I mess up a bit in the end. But I've done this fight enough that I know how to salvage it and bring it back and put him into the loop. Not a very hard fight, but it requires a lot of patience. The Ray fight is also a long fight, but you're always constantly doing something in the Ray fight. The Solidus fight's a long fight, but it's also like pretty basic. So if you don't do that, you're more likely to lose it just because you get bored and do something stupid. But it's not a bad fight. Doing the trick makes it faster, and that's Metal Gear Solid 2. I've after doing the extreme run of this, I've come to have a new appreciation for this game, and it used to be probably my second least favorite Metal Gear game. 3 is my favorite, but I used to think that oh yeah, 3 is my favorite, and then 1's my second favorite, and then maybe 2, 4. But I put 2 on an even ground with 4, because while 4's got its problems, I have really fond memories of 4 because I played a shit ton of MGO. Well, 1 and 2. Because I played MGO on Metal Gear Solid 3, but not a ton of it. And then I played a shit ton, a lot of MGO on Metal Gear Solid 4. So I have fond memories of Metal Gear Solid 4. But after playing through this game and really learning how to play it and get the big boss rating on extreme difficulty, European extreme difficulty, I've come to have a new appreciation for this game that I didn't before, and I think it's probably my second favorite Metal Gear game, honestly. I think 3 might still be my favorite, but this one is very, very close. If 3 is a 10, this is a 9.5.
What kind of things?
So yeah, that's Metal Gear. I'll probably maybe speed up the credits or something. These cutscenes are unskippable. I'll probably speed up the credits or something and show that I get the big boss rank. But thanks to anyone who did watch this. Hopefully it was somewhat entertaining for you. I had a pretty good amount of time making it. Yeah, if you're thinking about giving this game a try, I highly recommend you do, because you can't really get the full experience of it just by watching someone else play it and explain it. You really do have to play it yourself and experience it yourself. So hopefully, in the best case scenario, someone who has never played Metal Gear will see this video and give it a try. Alright, that's it.
I stare at the stars and the sky up above and think, what am I made of? Am I full of sorrow? Am I hurt and pain? Or am I filled with love? I walk by myself on the streets below and ask every child I know, do you think tomorrow will bring sun or rain? Which one of these will show? I can't say goodbye to yesterday, my friend. I keep holding on till the end. Out of the darkness, there is no other way than the light leading to yesterday. It's there. I fall to my knees, I cry and I cry. Love, do not pass me by. Happy ever after, please stay for a while. Make time refuse to fly. I can't say goodbye to yesterday, my friend, 'cause I know how good it has been. Facing forever, here I stand, come what may. Bring the old, bring the new, yesterday. It's there that I'll find inner peace, not war, and dreams that I let slip away. I'll find the joyfulness I'm looking for way back in yesterday.
Snake, you there?